everybody, JT Sports Max, you guys, with another video. In this video, I'm here with the Buffalo Bills 2019 halfback preview, going through all of the current halfbacks that the Buffalo Bills have on their roster. And before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. A little NFL videos and NFL content daily. And also, if you have a position for a certain team that you guys want me to preview, make sure to comment that team down in the comment section down below. Now, the Buffalo Bills have a very experienced group of halfbacks. A lot of the halfbacks that they have on their roster has had a significant amount of experience playing in the NFL, especially when we look at guys like LeSean McCoy and Frank Gore. And they also have a couple of pretty good young players as well. So we're going to dive into those guys. So the first guy that we have is Christian Wade. Now, Christian Wade was a very good rugby player over there in England and has been learning the NFL game over the last year. He's 5'8", 190 pounds. He's very strong and powerful. He is currently under the International Player Pathway Program, which allows athletes outside of the United States to occupy a practice squad spot on the team's practice squad roster, so he won't be able to be cut, and he's still able to learn the game. 2020 will be the year that decides his NFL fate. Now, this guy, although you guys might be like, he's only 5'8", 190 pounds, this dude is very, very strong. You guys have to remember that rugby players, these guys play both sides of the ball. And also, this guy is tackling guys who are nearly 100 pounds bigger than him. So this guy is very strong, very physical as well. So I think he has a good chance making the Buffalo Bills roster in 2020. And from what I've been reading, his footwork and his development of the game is coming on pretty. It's not coming on pretty fast, but he's learning the NFL game at a pretty steady pace. So I think he will make the roster in 2020. But for this year, he won't have to worry about getting cut because of the International Player Pathway Program. Is going to allow him to take up a practice squad spot while he learns the NFL game. Now, hopefully, he has a successful NFL career because only two players who have been in the International Player Pathway Program have made NFL rosters. Is one guy for the Falcons and another guy who plays defensive end for the Carolina Panthers, and one more guy who plays offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm rooting for Christian Wade. Hopefully he's able to have a pretty good off season for the Buffalo Bills, and he keeps on learning the NFL game. I'm always a fan of guys who have interesting stories, and I think this guy has a pretty interesting story. Next up, we have halfback DEVIN Singletary, who was drafted in this year's NFL draft by the Buffalo Bills out of FAU. This guy is incredible talent. He's probably the best group of five halfback coming out of this year's NFL draft, other than Daryl Henderson. He's a home run hitter, has pretty good speed. He's much faster on the field than he is running the 40 time. He's also powerful as well. He's just a very, very good, talented halfback. He's an explosive runner. He can go from 60-yard for a 60-yard touchdown every time he touches the ball. Home run threat. I think he's going to have a pretty good amount of carries this year for the Buffalo Bills. I say he probably gets around 90 carries this season since he's going to be sharing the workload with guys like Frank Gore and LeSean McCoy. And also, those guys are pretty up there in age as well. If one of those guys gets injured, DEVIN Singletary should be the guy to replace one of those guys. And LeSean McCoy, he battled injuries last season as well. So DEVIN Singletary should get a pretty good amount of playing time in his rookie season in the NFL. Next up, we have Mr. Consistency, Mr. Reliable, Frank Gore. Last year with the Miami Dolphins, he rushed for 722 rushing yards, was averaging 4.6 yards per carries. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he had a receiving touchdown. He also had 12 receptions for 124 receiving yards. Now, Frank Gore, the dude seems not to age. He's still a very reliable halfback. He's still pretty much on a very good team, a halfback 2 option. And I think him and LeSean McCoy, although those guys are up there in age, they're going to complement each other very well. Frank Gore, for the most part, has been able to stay healthy over the course of his career. And I think he might miss maybe 2 or 3 games at most, but I still think he's going to be a pretty reliable halfback for the Buffalo Bills. And like last season showed, he's still able to put up very good and productive numbers. So I'm expecting Frank Gore to have a big part of this Buffalo Bills team. Of course, he's going to be sharing carries and snaps with LeSean McCoy, but Frank Gore is a guy, I think he was brought in to be a veteran leader in that locker room and mentor young guys like Devin Singletary and giving them that veteran leadership that some of those young guys coming into the NFL need, and be a mentor for those young running backs that they have on the roster. So I think that's going to be a big role that Frank Gore is going to play this season for the Buffalo Bills, is mentoring those young guys like a Devin Singletary and trying to help them become very good NFL halfbacks. Next up, we have halfback LeSean McCoy. Now, last season, he battled a couple of injuries. He had 514 rushing yards, was averaging 3.2 yards per carry, and only had 3 rushing touchdowns. This was probably one of the worst seasons that he has had in his career up to this point. But overall, I still think he has the potential to be a very productive halfback. I just think last season was just a bad year. And I think this year he ends up bouncing back. I think he will be able to hit 1,000 yards. I don't think he's going to like exceed that goal, but I think he hits it right on the marker, 1,000 yards this season. He's still a pretty solid halfback for the most part when he's able to stay healthy. And also in the receiving game, he had 238 receiving yards, 34 receptions. And with Frank Gore there and also the young guys that they have on that roster, like a Devin Singletary, they should be able to rotate LeSean McCoy whenever he needs a break and keep his legs fresh. So I think he has a good chance this season to stay healthy. I do think he should be able to get 1,000 yards rushing because he's still a very good halfback. He's shown flashes last year of him slowing down a little bit, but he's still a very good halfback. He's still the Shady McCoy that we all know and love, even though he's getting up there in age. He's not what he used to be. He's still a very good halfback, and I think he can end up having 1,000 yards this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up matching that goal. So the next guy that we have on this list is Marcus Murphy. Now, Marcus Murphy, he's more of a special teams guy. He had stints with the New Orleans Saints, Indianapolis Colts, and New York Jets. He's very fast and shifty, has the potential to become a very good and solid player on special teams. He also is a returner. He was with the Buffalo Bills last season, and he played a couple of games before he ended up suffering an injury, which I believe that placed him on IR. But I'm expecting him to make the roster. In 2018, he had 250 rushing yards, was averaging 4.8 yards per carry. And I'm pretty sure he's going to make the roster just because the impact that he has on the special team side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills improved tremendously their whole special teams roster as a whole. So I think Marcus Murphy, he's going to make the roster. I'm pretty 60% sure that he'll make the roster, maybe 70% sure, just because they're not really relying on him to do much in a running game. They'll pretty much have him on the roster for his ability to contribute on special teams. So I think that's how he ends up making the roster there as well. Next up, we have Sonoris Perry. Now, Sonoris Perry played for the Miami Dolphins. He had a pretty good preseason for the Miami Dolphins for the most part. And in the regular season, he didn't get any carries at all. He had 0 rushing yards, 0 yards per carry, and 0 touchdowns. And with the Buffalo Bills, I believe that they brought him in to contribute on special teams. It's really hard for me to see him making the roster considering how good the Buffalo Bills are at a halfback position. So if he makes the roster, I think it's going to be specifically because of his ability on special teams. Now, in the past, he has had stints with the Chicago Bears, and most recently, like I mentioned earlier, he had a stint with the Miami Dolphins in 2018 when he was on the active roster, but didn't get a single carry. He is a good special teamer, which is pretty much the only way I can see him making the roster. And they are just very, very loaded at the halfback position. I don't think he's a bad player or anything. I just think it's going to be, I think if he makes the roster, it's pretty much going to be on special teams because they're loaded at the halfback position. They have a guy like Devin Singletary. They already have Frank Gore and LeSean McCoy. So that's going to get that's pretty much your bulk of the carries there. Now, if somebody gets injured, then pretty much Marcus Murphy is probably going to step up, and he'll probably be that third running back that steps up if LeSean McCoy or Frank Gore gets injured. And then if another halfback gets injured, that's pretty much the only way I see SENORISE Perry getting thrown into the fold. But overall, I just think he'll probably contribute on special teams. But even then, the Buffalo Bills spent a lot of time in free agency addressing the special teams department of their team. I was reading an article about it, and basically they want to get better in kick return coverage or something like that from the article I was reading earlier. So Sonoris Perry, it's going to be pretty tough to see him making this roster. But overall, I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he makes the roster. I think he will. He can be a pretty good special teams player. And that's Sonoris Perry there. So next up, we have TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon, of course, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, probably one of the most underrated halfbacks that we have in the game. Last season, he was pretty good. He was pretty much the best halfback on that roster when Leonard Fournette went down with that injury. He had 414 rushing yards, was averaging 4 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. He's also a pretty good receiving back as well. Had 487 receiving yards, 55 receptions, and caught 4 touchdown passes. He's another guy I'm going to be interested in seeing how he gets what his role on this Buffalo Bills team is going to be, because you already got Devin Singletary, you got LeSean McCoy, you got Frank Gore. Now you got a guy like TJ Yeldon. How are the Buffalo Bills going to find a way to get him involved? That's going to be the big thing I'm going to be looking forward to seeing. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Also, let me know if you guys have any more teams that you guys want me to do down in the comment section down below. Make sure to comment the position for that team as well. And also make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching.